Coming up on Radically Rational,
A conversation with one of history's great drummers.
Rock and Roll Hall of Famer Danny Seraphine.
That's coming up on Radically Rational right now. We are radically rational. We're bringing facts back into fashion. We're making simple sanity sexy again. I try to hold myself to that standard, and if I violate it, I will get rebuked by an 8-year-old girl.
That's just not logical.
Yeah, okay. All right. Welcome again to the podcast. My name is Paul Alexander. This is my friend and co-host, Lauri Pearson. And the first thing I want to do is thank you, Lauri, because you tolerate me. You really tolerate me. And part of that is you have to listen to all my really off-the-wall theories, right?
It goes both ways, and you know that.
But one of them is, and you've heard, I've seen you roll your eyes in my presence when I say this.
Okay.
But everything in the universe is rhythm. The universe is rhythm.
I don't roll my eyes at that.
Rhythm is universe. It is the universe. It sends off its vibe. Mm-hmm. And as human beings, anytime we are connected to that, it's pretty hard to mess up. So I got to thinking, well, if everything's rhythm, how about we just invite, I don't know, the most rhythmical guy on planet Earth onto this show. This is such an honor for us. Truly. Rock and Roll Hall of Fame drummer, founding member of the seminal band Chicago, and now has his own band, CTA, little wink there. And by the way, this band rocks. Danny Seraphine, I just cannot tell you how honored we are.
Well,
yes,
I'm flattered and humbled at the same time. Thank you.
We appreciate that. So much been looking forward to this. And Danny, I don't mind telling you, I almost felt like a little pressure here with the intro because I didn't want to mess it up. And I wanted to find the right way to do it. So what I finally settled on is to just quote you writing about you. And the line is, I'm a street player and I've seen it all. Yes, you are. And yes, you have.
Well, you'll be surprised at how many days I think I've seen it all, and then I see something I haven't seen. And I, that's true of all of us, I'm sure, because that's the beauty of life, really. One of the mysteries and beauties of life is there's always something new to learn and new experiences to experience. So I'm going to be 73, towards the end of this month, and I'm still rocking and rolling.
Yes, you
and
are.
Jazzing it up. I'm having a great time. I really, really am. I mean, life isn't perfect, but how often is it ever perfect? You might have little moments, but I'm really blessed and lucky to be able to do this with you guys and get the respect that I'm getting from you, Paul and Lauri. I don't, did I comb my hair this morning?
You did.
Everything's right in place, Danny.
Perfect.
It's barely, listen, I think I might go shave it just to keep it easier. But, you all are so kind. I appreciate it. So I'm glad to be here.
Danny, your story is so compelling, and it's a storyline that works every time it's tried dramatically. Okay, Shakespeare knew it. The Greek playwrights knew it. If you got a storyline that goes, guy finds his passion, guy loses his passion, guy gets his passion back, you can't mess that up. That's kind of been your life.
Definitely. Yeah. When you lose something that you take, playing with Chicago, just use that as an example, was so second nature to me. It was like really, it was so ingrained in my life. I mean, deeply. Every day, 24/7, because that was really, Chicago was my baby in a sense, I'm sure Walter would probably say the same thing. And some of the other guys, so when it was taken away from me, it was brutal. It nearly broke me. But it was really what needed to happen and was best for me. And, I'm a better drummer, a better person for it, and I'm grateful to be where I'm at and to have what I have, and to be playing with this band of great musicians. They're just, it's like I'm going to be 73, driving a Ferrari, a 12-cylinder Ferrari,
Yeah.
jump on and hold on, and you know, but it keeps me younger and it keeps me moving forward. And I'm not going
Right.
to stop. I'm not going to stop until I absolutely have to, or I just I stop. And that wouldn't be so bad either. I've had a great life and no complaints. I mean, the complaints I have are, you know, same kind of complaints everybody else has. You know, really, you know, I do a few things over, but not many, not many. I've had a great run, and it's not stopped. It seems to still have legs. So I'm grateful.
Danny, you reference your current band, and I mean, they just tear. What a lineup. I mean, you got some big woofing dogs there. And I just love the name, frankly, CTA. I love the droll reference, maybe a little bit of an elbow to the rib cage here. The CTA, this being California Transit Authority. I love it.
Yeah, I know. Well, to be honest, I love the name CTA better than Chicago. I mean, Chicago's, what else can you say? But CTA, it conjured up, like, you know, you had to think, CTA, what does that mean? Chicago Transit Authority bus line. But I really like CTA. So when we put this band together with Mark Bonilla and Ed Roth, Mark looked at me and said, what are we going to call it? I said, CTA. He said, well, won't we get sued? And I said, I hadn't even thought of, I said, how about California Transit Authority? You know? So then I went through the whole legal aspect of name search and all that. And I found out that nobody owns the name CTA, not the band for sure, and not even the city. So now I own the name CTA.
Yes.
And the city pays me, it's like a streaming. No, the city doesn't pay me, but I now, believe it or not, I own the name. When I say I have the rights to the name CTA, for whatever it's worth. And, you know, sometimes there's bands that try to use it from Chicago. And I say, look, I spent thousands of dollars. Please, I'm not assuming, I'm not a guy that likes to inhibit any musicians for anything, but, you know, you can't be calling yourself CTA if I'm calling CTA. Just, right. You know, so call yourself Chicago Tribute Authority or whatever you are, but, you know, don't use CTA. Anyways, so most people comply, and I'm not a policeman, so I run away from the police.
That's what rock stars do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Danny, of course, you were born in Chicago, and I have read your book, Street Player, My Chicago Story, and I recommend it to everybody. And later on, we'll be telling people how they can access your website and all the wonderful things that are available there. But you've been very, very forthright and forthcoming about kind of your hard scrabble beginnings. And it gave you a perspective that maybe some other people wouldn't have. But music from about, the age of 9 kind of became your salvation?
Without a doubt. Without music, who knows? Yeah. I was heading in a bad direction. But I always, you know, music saved my life. And it's like basketball saving some kid from the ghetto, and you know, baseball saving somebody from the barrio. You know, music saved my life, you know. And in those days, I was running fast and hard. I'd quit school at 15 and a half. I mean, it was crazy. But once I got that first gig, boom, it was done. And it was just music. And I was able to channel that insane energy I have, which is somewhat, quite, thank God, tempered, but it's insane. You know, just an enormous amount of fire and passion and towards my playing. And, I'm grateful for that, you know, because if I hadn't had that, I mean, I don't know. I mean, would I have ended up in jail? Would I ended up dead? You know, chances are there's a good chance both would be true. It's turned me into a good citizen, you know.
Well,
Which I gotta tell you, it's a lot easier and a lot better. Playing music, I just love it. And like I say, when you have something taken away, like I do, every time I play, I try to make it like it's as if it were the last time we're going to play. So I don't leave much to the, I mean, I give it all.
you leave it all on the skins.
When I'm done, I sleep really well.
Yeah, you should.
So, yeah.
Yeah, well, and in your passion that started, obviously, like the spark that you had when you were born, and it turned into drumming, and it's something that's kept you going. And I'm not trying to speak for Paul or any other fan, but Paul is one of the the only huge, amazing Chicago fan that I know. I mean, I know
I'd probably
loves,
be up there. Yeah.
Everybody loves and knows Chicago and knows the work, but Paul knows it inside and out. Just every detail and every nuance. He listens the way you would want someone to listen to what you're doing, you know. But what my point was is that all of your passion and everything you went through and everything that you leave on the skins, you know, we're hearing that and we're getting that, and that's bringing us life. And we're both huge music fans, and there is no life without music. And I play, but I don't play professionally. And Paul plays and sings. We did not professionally, but my point being is everything that you're feeling and putting out there it doesn't. You don't have to be live. We could put on a record and just absorb it and feel it. And you know, talking about your mortal wound that happened, I'm not surprised that you put your sticks down and said, you know, when you get something like that taken away from you, it's like having something excised from your heart and taken out and put away somewhere. And I can't imagine wanting or being able to play after something so traumatic had happened, you know, with the Chicago thing. And so the fact that you got it back, that's a beautiful, amazing thing. And that you're still giving that gift to everyone in such a pure, amazing place as a musician, which is why you're here. Musicians are gods, if you ask me, truly, in their own ways. They are brought here for reasons to touch people that we otherwise couldn't be touched. So, but thank you for that, for sticking with it and for following, you know, that eternal flame.
It's my honor and pleasure. I'm lucky.
We're lucky.
Yeah, well,
you know,
we're all lucky. You know, we're all lucky, really,
we are.
because we have you know, we've just been through shit. I mean, hell and back, but you know, we're here, we're standing, we're talking, we're smiling. There's a lot of people who aren't because of what we just went through, and probably will still continue. But thank you for that. I mean,
Sure.
I could never ever think of myself as a god. I think more of myself as a messenger, you know, and feeling things. But the musicians and artists and writers, poets, they feel things that it's not that you don't feel them, you do, but we have found a way to communicate it through the music or the art, and that's a gift you have to share, and you also have to cultivate it, and you have to take care of it. And taking care of it with me is staying in shape, right, you know, to the best, so that I can continue playing the way I like to play, because obviously after all these years, I've got all kinds of repetitive use injuries, and
right.
But yeah, but it's drumming is an I'm basically a 73-year-old athlete.
True.
True.
And I say 73, but I'm not 70. I mean, I'm going to be 73 in August 28th. So it's, you know, it's a privilege. And what artists, I mean, you go through different phases where you take it all for granted, or you get disillusioned, or you get jaded, and then you life has a way of kicking you in the, you know what, and putting you down and saying you better think about how you're conducting yourself and how you're treating other people and how you're treating your music, and appreciate it. And so therefore I really appreciate it. I more than you can imagine. So it's just a great, you know, it's a love affair between me and my drums and the music, really. And, you know, maybe it's going to be the one love of my life that, you know, that I have to embrace and always hold on to. And that's just the way it is.
Danny, I referenced your book earlier, Street Player, My Chicago Story. So many poignant moments in that book, and I thought it was really wonderfully written in the sense that you were brutally honest, but it never came off, in my opinion, as vindictive or mean or combative or retaliatory. It didn't come off that way. But of all the emotional moments in that book, the one that just wrecked me, you pointed out that, and you've already referenced Walter Parazater, that you guys all took an oath in Walt's kitchen and said there are only two ways out of this band. You die or you quit, but nobody gets fired. And then, and Danny, whether you're comfortable saying this or not, I'll say it. It's not like you hadn't stood behind every single one of those guys when they were maybe going through a rough time.
Yeah, that's true. Certainly pissed me off for a number of years, that particular thought. But to be honest with you, I had a really big hand in it myself. So I have to own my part of it. And believe me, at the end of the day, when they look in the mirror, they own their part of it too. But all that said and done, the music still sounds great to this day.
Oh yeah,
fresh.
Absolutely.
It sounds fresh and young, and that's something that I'm so grateful for. And I'm sure Robert and Jimmy and Walter and Lee, Peter. I love Peter. Peter and I are really good friends. We're really good friends to this day. We if we hung out, we'd probably be arguing, but we don't. So, but when I say arguing, the greatest thing, one of the greatest attributes of this band, I remember we'd have knockdown, drag out fights. I mean, nasty fights, nasty. And then, the next morning we go to bed pissed off at one another, whoever it was. And there's 7 of us. So it was one or another at one time or another, sometimes even close to fist fights. We'd wake up and look at each other and smile and go, wasn't that a bit? And that's a great link. That's a great thread of camaraderie that ran through the band, especially after we lost Terry, because then we realized we had to really take care of one another and appreciate one another, because you just never know. So all that other stuff, yeah, I totally agree. Well, that was my first, what about when you were this and I stood behind you and I stood up at a meeting and said, if he goes, I go, or, but I was different, you can't always judge everybody by your own standards, because everybody's had different cultural life experiences, and you can't expect everybody to be in a street fight and all of a sudden walk to a wall and say, okay, come on, I'm ready for you.
Oh wow!
It's not
What a wonderful point
it's
that
not
is.
that way with a lot of people, and it's not necessarily their fault. You know what I mean? Or a character flaw. It's just how they were raised and their culture that they came up in. I was very much different than the other guys in the band from day one, from where I came from. And they're I have a really, really special place in my heart for all of them. Despite all the crap that went down, and it was a lot of shit, but I have a special place in my heart because I remember all the great times we had. We have some really, amazing times, and so I'm gonna hold on to those. And the negative times, well, I had my negative times too, so you just gotta let it go.
Danny, your Hall of Fame acceptance speech back in 2016 has become legendary, and it's earned that status. And let me just say this, Danny, not only was I okay with it, I loved every syllable. Any insight into how you developed that before you delivered it?
God. They wanted us to write out our speech and give it to them.
Not happening.
Did they get a different speech?
Yeah, I didn't. Well, I really, I was sitting by Steve Miller and he was writing his speech out. And,
I love it.
I'm going to talk about you guys. And in my head, I'm thinking, as we go, and I'm making it up in my head as we go. And Rob Thomas did the this is not your mom's. This is not your mom's band. And if this is your mom's band, then I want to meet you or whatever. He was saying this is a badass band. If you look at the early days, yes, they ended up being kind of a soft rock ballad legends, but So I started thinking about that. What made us badass? And then I started thinking about the time Peter got his jaw broken at the Dodgers game, or the time Robert, and then got his mouth wired shut, and then was on the road for fucking 6 weeks with his mouth wired shut, eating pizza out of a grinder, sucking it through a fucking straw. And then Robert trying to dunk a ball. Robert's a really good basketball player, but he was, white people can't dunk. He went to go dunk, and it was like it was on a cement floor, and his leg went out, and he busted his fucking leg. So we had to cancel. And the next night, he's on the stage with leg, a brace. I mean, not a brace, a cast all the way up to his hip, playing B3 organ. I mean, that's badass.
Yeah, it is.
You know, that's badass. I mean, and all the times I went on sick and broken fingers, and I mean, Peter, I remember, I mean, just can imagine he's singing like this. If you look at some of those, he's singing, his mouth is wide shut. He's, hello, I can just feel it, So when he referenced badass, I thought, okay, badass, and then all the F-bombs started coming out because it was a very dynamically strange evening because I could tell the guys didn't want to really be around me. They were uncomfortable. I mean, to a degree. I don't know why. I mean, I think because I hadn't seen it for 25 years, they maybe were worried I was going to punch him or something, which I wasn't. I wanted to make total peace.
You did.
And reconciliation. Oh no, I didn't. They haven't spoken to me since.
Well, but you made the effort, and it really came off that way. It really did.
No, and you know what? Listen, I think when in hindsight, when they look at my speech, they got to laugh.
It's brilliant.
A couple of them were really miffed and embarrassed, I think they were embarrassed because I kind of upstaged them, and I wasn't intentional. I just let it fly because I knew one that I was never going to play with the band again. This was the last time, and I knew that. You know what? I'm going to say what's on my fucking mind. And guess if I say fuck, too bad, because I say fuck a lot. I do, and it's a street. Yeah, who doesn't? You know what?
It's a beautiful word.
They should teach. Well, kids. Okay, after 16, kids should be able to say fuck. Before that, it's a little bit out of character.
I think there should be a written law about that. I would support that in every state legislature.
Sophomore, junior in high school, about let it fly.
That's it.
Verbs, nouns, adjectives, all of it.
Let me ask you, what better descriptive word is there than you're like fuck? I mean, go fuck yourself. That's where you're pissed, or you're a really fucking great person, or how fucking good is that? It's just a great word.
I agree.
And a lot of people get miffed by it. And I look at them, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's been around a long time. There have been so many other words that have been brought into our vernacular, which are abhorrent to me. Why can't we just bring that one in?
But you know what just occurred to me?
What?
Danny, the ultimate percussionist, it's a syllable that has percussion in it.
It does.
It really, really does. And Danny, one of the things that to me has always elevated a competent musician to an artist is you hear one note and it's that dude or that dudette. Okay, that's Carlos Santana. It takes you one note.
Yeah.
Danny, this is difficult to do for a drummer, but from the jump, you just sounded different than anybody else. When did you realize that?
Tough question. I kind of I worked towards that. I was striving to play. I really was actively striving to fuse jazz and rock. When I was studying at DePaul University, and Bob Tillis, the great Bob Tillis, wonderful percussion teacher, but he's passed away a long time ago, but a wonderful man, and saw my potential and really harnessed it and just catapulted me to another level of musicianship and so that was the formative part of it. And then the perfect storm was I was in a jazz rock band, although we weren't thinking of ourselves as a jazz, we evolved into that. But Jimmy Panko's writing these beautiful jazz horn lines and asking me, hey, kick this. And I'm saying, so all of a sudden, while I'm learning it and while I'm studying Buddy Rich, and of course, Gene Krupa was my first drum hero. And still to this day, you hear all of these guys, and Alvin Jones and all of Max Roach and Tony Williams, all these great jazz drummers. So I even got to study with Papa Joe Jones. It was just pouring out of me. I was sweating. I was basically sweating it. It was like, and so that's what set me apart from other rock drummers and funk drummers. And not that there weren't other drummers striving to do similar things to stretch the boundaries of drumming, but it's just who I am now. Now it's just who I am. I do it instinctively, automatically. It's just who I am. So I really forgot your question.
You know what? Absolutely doing fine, but you do have.
I'm tired.
I get.
I get. I've had a lot of coffee, and so you have to give me bit of a hall pass. I'm just going to go
Oh,
off.
absolutely. And we were
Yeah,
just
I
saying
mean,
that
but
your
I-
sound
you know,
really
what-
is unique.
Yeah, your
That's what
signature
sets me
sound.
apart.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what sets me apart is to be my ability. My tombstone, when I'm dead and gone, they're going to have on my tombstone that he might have been better than almost most people at fusing jazz and rock together seamlessly, and that includes Latin, classical, you know, country. You know, it's just my ability to fuse, go from one genre to the one jazz to rock, back to jazz, back to rock, into something kind of a. It's just something that I developed during that time, and so it's ingrained in my playing.
You know, Lauri and I probably talk about music more than we talk about anything else, except probably football, right, Lauri?
No.
No, that's not right?
No, it's not right.
Okay.
You were
Okay.
right the first time.
But, you know, Danny and Lauri and I were talking about this. You know, you
Yeah.
can do pyrotechnics with anybody. I mean, there's the classic drum solo in the middle of I'm a Man, and it's a wonder. But the thing that really always impressed me about your playing, and I got to say, it shocked me because I was using this word to describe you before I heard you use this word to describe you. Your playing is so melodic. And yeah, I love the pyro stuff, but I look at something like what you did on No Tell Lover, for example. The only
Yeah.
word I can come up with is exquisite.
You know, you Paul, I think I want to talk to you a little bit every day
I'm
to
here.
help me feel it. Lauri, you too. You know, but we'll just do our own morning.
Okay.
You know, but you know,
I'm in.
jeez. I mean, listen, but No Tell Lover is near and dear to me because I co-wrote.
I know.
I wrote the lyrics and a lot of the background harmonies were somewhat my idea. Of course, it's all Peter. Peter just says, oh, God, what a singer! My God, what a singer! And besides being a great singer, he's a great bass player. He doesn't get the credit for how great of a bass player he is because he's such a great singer. But the drum part on No Tell Lover, yeah, well, that's another thing that I strived for, especially once I started recording and hearing myself and, you know, imagining fills and complementing, you know, moods of song, complementing horn kicks or complementing a transition into another section. I wanted to think melody. So I tuned my drums very melodically. I mean, not necessarily each note to it, boom, 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 you know, but to ear, you know. So yeah, that's a conscious, and again, now it's the great thing about now and where I'm at now, and as long as I can keep doing it, is it's so ingrained in my playing that I go to it automatically, you know. So
Are you still
yeah.
writing?
Not enough. I'm lazy. I should do more. Sometimes it's out of fear because in writing, you're exposing your insides, you know, and even to yourself. Okay.
True.
So you have to you have to go in there and you have to dig into the nitty gritty. So I'm due to do some writing,
Good.
but I'm afraid what I'm going to find.
It might be, well, it sounds like you need to if you're afraid of it.
Yeah, probably.
Do you find yourself embellishing a little on the stuff that you've always played? Is that sort of a little bit of an outlet for you?
Yeah. I mean, it's natural to kind of stretch it and take it further,
Okay.
or simplify it and realize it needs to be less.
Okay.
You know?
That's good.
But yeah, I do embellish, you know.
Yeah. I love that.
So when am I coming to San Antonio?
We'll figure that out.
We're going to try to make that happen,
We
Danny.
will
That
make
would
that
would be absolutely great. And you know,
Yeah, because we could do maybe a Texas tour. And you know, let me ask you something. And don't take this the wrong way, but where the hell are your draws? You don't sound like you're from Texas.
We're in media. We don't have draws. We can use them if you like them, though.
let
do,
me
I do,
stay
I do like
awake.
that.
Let me stay awake for about another 18 hours, and it'll start to creep in. I promise you. So.
When we get mad, or I don't know, when you drink, does it come out?
Oh sure.
See?
Oh sure.
Well, I have to experience. I'll experience the drinking part. The mad part, I don't want to experience with you, Lauri. I could tell.
Oh,
You're not-
never. Then I just use the F-bomb.
Oh, good.
That's
good,
how you
good. I
know.
like it even more. I definitely. I can't wait.
Feels good. All right. Yeah, gosh, we would love that. We have we'll have our people call your people, and we'll see what we, seriously.
And you should know this, that there's no question that Lauri Pearson is the most influential person in the entire San Antonio music scene. So let's have this all wrapped up by lunchtime tomorrow, okay?
Tomorrow, got it.
Okay.
Lunchtime
All right, Lauri,
today.
I'm counting on
Still
you.
got time,
I'm
30
counting on
minutes.
you.
I would love to make that happen, or have some
Yeah,
kind
well,
of part in it.
Yeah,
Sure.
is there yeah, well, I imagine Austin is really close. How close is Austin to you?
We're about an hour and 20 away. That's where I live.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
I love Austin.
Paul, etc.
We would love that. Yeah.
On camera. Paul's lovely wife is off camera, but I'm sure they would make the trip to Austin if we could get you there too.
It's a wonderful city. I lived and worked there for several years, and we absolutely love it. And Danny, you were mentioning your writing career and what you've done in writing, and you referenced the fact that you got to be a little careful because you're going to tap things emotionally that sometimes are difficult to deal with. One of the things that you wrote, or at least co-wrote with Hawk Walensky, Little One, and we didn't know it at the time, but it was really the last time that anybody heard Terry Kath open his mouth.
That was his last lead vocal, for sure.
It was, and it's really unbelievable. But you and I are both fathers. We're both fathers of daughters. I will tell you, I think that recording, that arrangement, the writing, everything is so overwhelming. But I'm going to tell you this right now, Danny, I can't get through it. I tried yesterday. I got halfway through it, and I just couldn't handle it anymore. How emotional was that for you? Because that's clearly about your daughter.
Well, it was about my daughter in a really difficult time. I just gotten divorced, and the pain from a marriage breaking up, especially with children and all that. And my daughter was she's now a grown woman. In fact, I'm staying with her in California to escape the Las Vegas heat. It was unbelievably emotional, especially when I wrote the lyrics. And their lyrics are just as they sound, lying here. Anyways, it's really emotional. And then when I saw it come to life, Hawk, I sent the lyrics to Hawk, and then he sent back this beautiful, the first, the first orchestral part of it,
Mm-hmm.
that was my idea, in a sense that I heard Donny Hathaway's song once that had like that kind of movement that flowed into another song. So
Yeah.
and then we enlisted an amazing arranger by the name of Dominic Fontieri, who wrote for movies and just brilliant man. And he wrote this beautiful string part, especially at the very beginning to me, the first part with the Fender Rhodes and then Terry singing Obligato by himself, and then underneath, and the cymbals, cymbal swells, underlying and then break into the song. It just turned out beautifully. The record company released it as a single, which was probably a mistake, because what was happening at the time is, I loved it, and I was really proud that it was, that Terry sang it so beautifully, and it was his last song. Means to this day means the world to me, that because he wanted to sing it. He heard that and he said, I want to sing that song. It wasn't necessarily written for, I think it was originally Robert I thought about, and then when Terry said, yeah, man, Terry says, I want that song. I feel it. And so the record company, obviously the tragedy happened with Terry and the record company, it wasn't like they were trying to exploit it. It was more out of respect for Terry's memory. But Take Me Back to Chicago, the song that I wrote in that time period, also emotional, was had organically made its way onto radio, and 75% in there, like a huge number of stations were playing it in rotation. So the record company force feeding Little One actually killed Little One, because it never really turned into the hit that it should have been, because it's that good of a song.
It is.
I'm not saying because I wrote it. It's a full it's across the gamut. It's a great arrangement. It's a great recording. It's it's beautiful. But Take Me Back is also was of an emotional song. But both of them collided, and therefore neither of them ever became the hit they should have become. It's really kind of ironic. And maybe someday someone will put them in a movie.
I was just going to say, it sounds so thematically done. It would probably be perfectly placed in a movie, and then it would have a whole new life.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they really should be. And, so, they things happen for a reason, and whatever it is, maybe someday those songs will get the attention they deserve because they're so good, both of them. I mean, those were two of the most inspired. I only write if I'm extremely inspired. It's just like where I can't hold back. I got to write it. I'm not a method writer. I probably could be and should be, but I'm not. And maybe that's the next phase of what I need to attack, the next goal, so to speak. But it scares me because of what sometimes you dig into, how painful it is. It's not. So being a writer, I've known writers. They can be pretty tortured people, because they know that's how they have to get in touch with that part of themselves. I mean, for it to be really, truly inspiring, the great, great songs that are truly inspiring, right?
Right.
Love songs, sad songs, happy songs, but it's, probably something that I need to dive into and start, because it's very, honestly, that's where you make, and this is the commercial aspect of it. That's where you make your money.
Right,
I mean,
writing.
the money that I co-wrote a song called Street Player.
I was just about to ask you about your
Okay,
story
you
about
go ahead.
this. No, I didn't mean to interrupt. Your story about this is one of the most hilarious things I've ever heard, and I'd love to have you recount the story. All I can say is Danny Seraphine wound up getting the last laugh on that one.
I did.
You did.
I still do. I mean, it's the gift that keeps giving. It's the gift that, and it's a great,
Nice.
It's a story that I try to tell young musicians and writers, so that they truly understand you got to take advantage of every opportunity, or and approach it, with that kind of what's the right word, enthusiasm. And knowing that it could be around for the rest of your life, so make it the best it possibly can be. And anyway, so Street Player, it was it was my biggest endeavor. I'd written Little One, Take Back Chicago, and a similar time period of my life, under a lot of strife, pain, whatever, life stuff. And Street Player was about me. It's about Danny. It's about my life. It's about my experiences. And I was so connected emotionally to it, it's not healthy to be that emotionally connected, but it's hard not to, but it's also not healthy, because then you lose objectivity, and you can make some bad decisions. But so we were doing Chicago 13, and I'd written it years before that. Rufus had recorded a version of it, which I really didn't feel did it justice. I love Rufus and Shaka, love him, and Hawk's one of my dear friends. He's a beautiful, beautiful guy and incredibly creative. And I wouldn't have been able to write what I wrote without Hawk. And so I said, I said to Hawk, I talked to Phil Ramone. Phil Ramone, the late great Phil Ramone, was doing. He'd done Chicago. He'd done Hot Streets, the album after Terry passed, and it turned out great. So we were working on the next album, which was going to be Chicago 13, which unlucky number. And I said to Phil, my close friend Carmine Appice had just co-written a big hit with Rod Stewart, Do You Think I'm Sexy? And it was huge. And I'm thinking, wow, that is a rock disco song. why couldn't we do? And all of a sudden, my wheels started going. Why couldn't Street Player? Why not make the best disco record of all time? I mean, musically, that was my goal. You know, obviously everything's always got to be great musically. You know, and so I drew it out for Phil, and he said, "Yeah, let's do it." And so we went about the task of recording Street Player, and that was everything, including a real drum loop. I mean, a drum loop in those days was I record 4 perfect bars of a drum groove, and then onto a 2-track recorder, and they run it. It's like, imagine this 2-track recorder in the studio with, you know, and they splice over and over and over again, and they run it. They run it through the 2-track onto a mic stand, and then around back to the 2-track. Really old, an old school loop, real loop. Mm-hmm. And so they created a drum loop of 9 or 10 minutes, and then the band. Then we started creating the song, and so, but the players on that song. Jimmy Pankow wrote an amazing horn chart. Mm-hmm. Peter's vocal is wonderful. Peter wanted to sing that song. He said, I like that. He liked the lyrics. And so, and then at that time, during the band's history, Lauri de Oliveira, a Brazilian percussionist, and he was good friends with Airto Moreira, who's a famous, I'm sure you've heard of him, Latin percussionist. So he happened to be, we flew him in to play on, there's a percussion, but so the breakdown is real percussion. It's not digital, this and that. I mean, there is a drum loop, okay? And then to top it off, I got Maynard Ferguson, the famous jazz late great Maynard Ferguson, to play the trumpet solo and some lines at the end. So it was like a perfect storm of just amazing musicianship crafted in a commercial endeavor, disco. And, the record company heard it. Everybody was like, wow, this is going to be their biggest hit of all time. And the disco era, we're going to really, they spent a couple $100,000 on videos and promotion. And they're like, wow. And then a disc jockey in Chicago by the name of Steve Dahl, who's a good friend of mine now. I hated him. Came up with this idea called disco demolition. Everybody, because he hated disco, it was a rock, and it was the end of the disco era, which I didn't know, of course. And so they did this disco demolition. Bring your most hated disco record, and we're going to burn it at Comiskey Park, which is the White Sox stadium. So 50,000 people came there and brought their record, and whose record was on top of the pile? Our record. Oh my God. The record company dropped it like hot potato. Everybody looked at me like, what were you thinking? Like I went from rehearsing my Grammy speech in the closet, like, I didn't want to see me, to, man, boom, being slammed to the turf. Like, it was to say that I was disappointed and disheartened and brokenhearted. Poor Danny, Jesus. But it was a drag.
Yeah,
it was really, sure. That was my thing. I'm finally going to get recognized as a songwriter, producer, blah, 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 whatever. And it was the biggest flop Chicago ever had. And so life goes on, and, I eventually, came out of the closet, smiling, but I really kind of stopped writing at that point. It was really, it knocked me to the turf. So life goes on. I get fired from Chicago. I'm hiding in the mountains of Colorado, and I get a phone call from a guy from he was an Englishman, was with EMI, I think, Records, and he said, Danny, we've sampled my band. There's a band in Europe called the Bucketheads. That's a crazy freaking name. They've sampled your record, and it's breaking out in the dance charts in Europe. And we'd just spoken to your songwriting partner, Huck Walensky, and he's agreed to sell his rights for $1,500. He said, are you going to be a good guy and work with us here? And I said, are you fucking kidding me? do you think I'm that? I said, do you think I'm that stupid? I already knew. I mean, I knew there was, like, so I put this lady, her name's Lisa Thomas, she's an expert at copyrights, and that she represented the Elvis estate and many Ray Parker Jr. So she had represented me, so I sigged her on them, and she immediately they sampled it without our approval. So we went from selling for $1,500 to each owning a third of that song, which ended up being the biggest dance hit in Europe. I think it was 1998. Yeah, it was, it was 8 years after I'd been fired. It was a long time.
Wow.
And maybe 90, and Chicago royalties, to be honest with you, had gone in the tank, and I'm like, oh, wow, I'm screwed. Money had, and all of a sudden God said to you, you know what, you wrote a great song. You were way ahead of yourself in your head, but that's a great song. And now you're going to get some payback for that. And and I lived off that for 5 or 6 years. I mean, I would go to the mailbox and it'd be $150,000 check. And I'd look up and I'd go, thank you. And it was like, so
I love it.
in life, and so time marches on another 10 years. 2008, I get another phone call from the same gal saying Pitbull sampled your song and wants to release it, but he wants your approval. I said, tell him to go ahead, do it, release it.
We were good.
Yeah.
And I looked up and I said, wow, you are good. Thank you, I appreciate it. And it was even bigger than that one. And so I lived off that for another 20. I mean, it's not. I mean, had I had something else going, it probably would have made me. But it just enabled me to keep living the life I live, and lucky.
Yeah.
So therefore, I'm freaking lucky. I wish that for everybody, to have your biggest failure end up being your biggest success.
Wow. Yeah.
Danny, I've never bought this stuff about he who dies with the most toys wins. But I do think that maybe he who has the broadest range of experiences really milks every drop out of life. And musician, writer, inventor, technician, part of speech, grammarian, all the things that you've done right now. And what I love about this is I can tell how passionate you are about your life right now. So tell us about CTA, tell us about the website, tell us about the upcoming tour. This is exciting.
Well, it's all happened in the flow of life, so I haven't planned a whole lot of it. I don't plan a lot of things, and that's really good and bad. It's good because it's always a surprise, and bad because sometimes I just crash and burn and end up in the corner and start chasing my tail. CTA is a labor of absolute love. I think we play Chicago music better than anybody, and even better than the band out there. And I don't mean that in a like in a type of way. I just we play it. These guys love this music growing up. They respect it. They treat it that way, and they enjoy playing it. And they're all world-class players. So that part of it is exciting, and is that I get to kind of relive the vibe of driving the original band with this band, and that's a great feeling for me. It's energizing, and so it's something that I'm very much appreciate and grateful for. As far as tours, we really don't do tours, unfortunately. Maybe it's fortunate. Maybe it's at 73. Doing this 5 or 6 nights a week might be a bit much. Yeah. So if I did it, I'd probably have to have a second drummer and play some of the things so I could towel off, drink a bunch of electrolytes, and jump back on. But so we do maybe 3. So let's just say we were going to come to San Antonio. We would try to tie it. I mean, I think Austin and San Antonio are spaced far enough where we could play in both places, and then maybe do a Houston and Dallas. This band has never played in Texas, which is ridiculous. I don't understand that.
Oh, we got to fix that.
Yeah.
We got to get that fixed.
We're going to work on that.
So. Yeah, and we're great with casinos. We do really well with casinos and performing arts centers and big clubs, like we do well in a club that's about 500-seater, 600-seater. So I have no illusion about jumping on the big stage. I mean, I'd like it, but I don't see it necessarily happening, but I don't care either. I'm very content, which sounds weird, but I do not want to chase it anymore, if you know what I mean, because there is a certain amount of chasing that needs to happen if you're going to climb the ladder again. And you know what? I don't care. I don't want to chase it. I don't give a fuck if I'm a rock star or just a musician doing what he loves to do. There's the rock star thing is not something people say, oh, you're a rock star. No, I'm not. I'm not a rock star. I don't drive. I mean, I don't want to be. So
I think you're the rock star that happened before the cliche came along. You're the kind that makes other people feel like a rock star when they listen to your music. And then that's the artist part of being a rock star, not the heady kind of thing, not that guy.
Well, yeah. I'd like to, that part I'm okay with, but the other part of,
I get it.
At this point, no thanks.
Well, you've earned it now. You've earned to be where you are. You have the luxury, if you can't even really call it that after everything that you've spent getting here, but you have the luxury of being able to play where you want to play and not having to pound the pavement and knock people over and,
Yeah, no, I don't want to. Yeah,
No.
You're right. It is a luxury. It really is. And I'm very lucky and I'm very grateful for that.
Yeah.
But, so we fly coach. I sit in coach. Maybe it might be, premium economy if but I don't even care. I don't, I just want to play San Antonio.
Let's do it.
We want to make that happen. Danny, I referenced your website, your band's website. It's just nothing but fun. Tell people how to get there.
Well, you go in your favorite web browser and you type in www.dannyseraphine.com or CTAtheband. I don't know if CTAtheband.com still works, but DannySeraphine.com works. And I got my gal Patty Malloy, who's really, really kicked everything in the ass and really. In case I'm in Carpinteria, which is like near Santa Barbara, which is beautiful this time of year.
Gorgeous.
Yeah, it's like 75, 80 the most, 60s at night, and God, I there's things about, I live in Las Vegas now. There's things that are really cool about Vegas. It's really coming of age. Vegas is a really cool place, but you know what? July, August, and half September. And June, but June's the first month of it. And you kind of, okay, that's the first month, but man, you can't open the windows until mid-September when it finally gets back into the 70s at night.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I'm glad to be here, and in fact I've got to drive. Patty's done such a good job. I've got to drive to Vegas today. I'm going to drive to Vegas today to sign like 70 plus merch items that that have been sold off the website. So
Nice.
yeah, I mean, life is good.
It is
Lauri, how cool was this?
amazing.
I mean, I
feel like
had
I'm in a dream state.
unlimited expectations for this interview, and they all got exceeded.
I love that for you.
Thank you. You guys I've very much enjoyed this, and I'm going to give you a big hug.
Oh,
Back at you, Danny,
hug
for
back,
sure.
guys. I want to hug back.
thank you.
Okay.
Danny, again, all the best to you, and you've been so gracious with your time. And you mentioned Patricia. Working with her is an absolute pleasure. I'm a huge fan there as well. I won't bore you or anybody else with details, but you showed me a little personal act of human kindness in 1982 that I just never forgot. And it really is reflective of who you are, and it's much appreciated. And Danny, we're just honored to have you on the program.
Yeah.
Yes.
Paul and Lauri, thank you. And I look forward to meeting you face to face soon.
Likewise.
Now, if we can make that happen, that'd be great. I'd love to. I'd love to bring the band there, and I know the band would. And so if not, then you have to come to Las Vegas because I'm working on a residency.
Now you're talking. Oh, that's exciting. Is that an inside scoop? Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
It's
A
not for sure yet.
residency.
But it's in the works. Okay. Now, if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen for one reason or another. But there's a good chance.
That's awesome.
As somebody once said,
So you
we can make it happen.
You may have to come to me. So
We'll do
but
that
I
too.
I really love San Antonio, and we had as Chicago as a band, we had many great times there. I remember it was a lot of fun because for some reason we would be off for a few days there and be able to enjoy the city and the food, great Mexican food.
Ah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's it. We'll see what we can do.
Hey, Danny, you probably have already done this, but if you have a chance, if you got some downtime ever, we'd be honored if you would visit our website at radicallyrational.com. It's got a lot of fun stuff as well. And know this, that we are at your disposal. We're very, very grateful. We're huge fans, but we're really fans of Danny Seraphine, the human being, and thank you again.
Absolutely.
Thank you,
Yeah, it's
both
been
of
an
you.
honor.
Have a great day, and I look forward to seeing you soon.
Hope
Thank
that
you.
happens.
Yes,
care.
likewise.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hall of Famer, Danny Seraphine. How cool was
Amazing.
that?
Yeah, it feels sort of like I'm in a dream. Honestly, I'm not just saying that.
No, what a life he has lived
Human
and
being.
continues to live. And once again, we do a lot of different things on Radically Rational. We've got sports blogs, we've got news blogs, we got daily videos, we have the podcasts, and we're all kind of about having a good time. We do want to advance truths, and we do want to bring facts back into fashion, but we take the subject matter seriously, but not necessarily ourselves that
No,
seriously.
you can't. You can't, because if you can't laugh, especially at yourself, then you're
Fortunately, I have many other people who are willing to laugh at me. So
help you laugh
exactly,
at
so it works
yourself.
out. Hey, thank you for your time. We enjoy this very much, and we want to serve you. Get on that website, give us your comments, make your requests, tell us about subject matter that you'd like to see for future subsequent Radically Rational podcasts. So for my friend and co-host, Lauri Pearson, I'm Paul Alexander. Thank you again, and just remember this, we're not crazy, but some of y'all pretty sketchy.